So again, welcome everyone for this last webinar of the online week. We are very happy about all the webinars we have had so far. And last but not least, we have a very important topic today with Frances, which is typical ethical dilemmas that a coach may face. So welcome, Frances, and welcome everyone for this last webinar. My name is Virginie Julien. I'm the event director of ACSM. I had the pleasure to organize this week with my colleagues of ACSM. I'm a coach working mostly with women, empowering women in their objectives and projects, personal or professional projects. So we have with us Frances, which is an MCC coach, an executive, and she's doing executive leadership coaching. She's a certified mentor, of course, a certified supervisor because she's with us tonight. She's also a coach facilitator, and last but not least, she's a member of the ICF Global Ethics Board. So you know all about ethics, and that's what you share with us tonight. So thank you for being there.
Thank you.
So to start, can you explain a bit more what is your topic about?
Sure, Virginie. Thank you so much for organizing this and for creating this platform for me to actually share with participants and the attendees for this webinar. So this topic on ethics is a topic which is very close to my heart. I've been sitting on the Independent Review Board, which is the ethical board of ICF since 2016. So my relationship with ethics grew from that time. And just sitting on the board, listening to the cases that came in, have really energized me and drawn me closer and closer to how important this whole topic is. So today, as I'm going to share with you about ethics, one of the few things that we need to know about ethics is what is ethics? How does it, where is it sitting in terms of the coaches or the coaching community? And is it alone? So how does it sit? I think that's one of the things that I want to look at. Second one is I want to share some examples of some of the challenges that coaches face. And this comes out in the ethical cases that are reported to the IRB. So I can share with you all some of the cases that come, and which is the hottest ethical dilemma topic or area. So which they're the top two, and I will share that. And then some of the best practices, Well, what is it as a coach? What can I do? When must I be aware? So I think just knowing this can be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Coaches. It can prevent. It's a prevention to be aware of those cases.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So so you talked about indeed some cases that you have handled. So do you have some specific challenges that the coaches may face, that are really that are recurrent?
Yeah. So before I go to the real challenges of the cases, I think it's good that as coaches we understand when there is a code of ethics that is actually guiding us or used as a guideline. That code is just not standing alone. That code has to be seen in conjunction or together with the 11 core competencies. So when I am a coach, I am governed by the 11 core competencies plus the code of ethics. So if there is going to be a dilemma in ethical situation, a challenge, we're looking at both. we are not just looking at the 28 clauses in the ethics code. We are also plus, we are looking at the 11 core competencies.
Yeah.
So we need to see that, number one, they are together.
Like a matrix. So
like
it goes together.
Yes. And number two, we also need to understand that it is not separate from us. It's not that, okay, I'm now a ICF coach, so maybe if I have a challenge, then I can refer to or think about the ethical code. No, it doesn't work that way. It is like, when I am an ICF coach, that means I'm either an ICF member or I am a credential coach, ACC, PCC, MCC, automatically the ICF Code of Ethics and the 11 core competencies covers you.
Yeah, it's embedded. It's something that should be natural in your coaching.
Correct. So you cannot say, wait, let me have a challenge first, then I'll refer to the ethical code. No, it doesn't work that way. It is like, I am a coach now, I am an ICF coach now, automatically embedded within me is the 11 core competencies and ethics, the 28 clauses of the ethical code.
Yeah.
And the third most important thing as a coach we need to remember is the code and the 11 core competencies are there to support us. It's not there as a master. Wait, did you follow or not? Did you break anything? Was there a breach? It's not so much the master of checking, and then with the ruler. You know,
it can feel that way, but I understand what you mean.
Exactly.
It's so part of the competencies that we should have.
Yeah. So we're all the time thinking, oh, did I breach? Did I? It's not the master with the ruler. It is rather a servant. It is a servant to guide us and serve us. So how does the ethics code or the 11 core competence serve us as a coach? It serves us because it protects us. So if anybody comes and says, you broke confidentiality, then you can always refer to the code or the 11 core competencies and prove without doubt, excuse me, I followed everything. This is what I did. So it's there to serve you and support you.
Yeah.
So you are protected by the code and the 11 core competencies. At the same time, you can use it for the client. So when the client is like going to engage you, oh, I heard you're an ICF coach. I heard you are an ACC coach. I see. So you're governed by the ethical and 11 core competencies. I see. So as soon as they understand, as a client, they understand that you are carrying that, they feel, we are protected.
Yeah. It goes both ways.
Yes, it goes both ways. So it's there to serve, not as a master. So a servant to the clients, a servant to the coaches.
It serves also the professionalism of the coach, so that, you know, we are at standard and we provide the level of the profession, a good level for the profession. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, that is very nice. I think it's nice to have this view, because probably it's not clear for everyone. We always talk a lot about the competencies, but you're right, it's a matrix, it goes together, and as soon as you agree to the ICF codes, it should be embedded. You should know that, and help you and protect you at the same time. Thank you for that. Yeah. So, tell me.
Yeah, so why I feel this is important for me, like this topic, why did I get so close to it? Because we learned it in our coaching supervision academy program that ethics is not a solo sport. Yeah, because coaching is not solo. Coaching doesn't happen just by yourself. Coaching, there's always a relationship. Either there is a relationship between you as a coach and your client, or there is a relationship between you, coach, client, and sponsor. Or it could be a relationship between you and your mentor coach. or it's a relationship between you and your supervisor, or it's a relationship, if you're a facilitator of coach certification programs, you and your students. So as a coach, coaching is not a solo sport. Always there's relationship.
Yeah, you are not standalone, you're not a satellite. There is a system there that you need also to manage.
Yeah. And because you're not alone, there's so many nuances that can happen. People make assumptions, people make psychological contracts, people have expectations all inside here, but they didn't verbalize. So because of that, you get ethical challenges, you get ethical dilemmas, you get ethical issues, you get so ethics is like so tricky in the sense. That's why I feel coaching supervision is a really rich, supportive way for coaches who can get stuck in any of these nuances. So we'll come to that later.
Yeah, and because you mentioned the competencies and the code of ethics, and you just mentioned indeed supervision now can really support the coach in ethical dilemmas, like mentoring can help more on the core competencies. Can we see it that way?
Yes.
Okay.
So mentoring will focus more on how can you upgrade your skill on coaching presence? How can you upgrade your skill on setting plans, action steps? How can you upgrade yourself on creating awareness for the as a coach? Yes, so it focuses more on the 11 core competencies. But supervision will touch all.
Yes, yeah, ethics and much more, but it's more about the being, and ethics is part of it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Do you want to go through some, typical challenges now that the coaches may face?
Yeah. So, in sitting on the board, there are two areas which are the hottest topics, and this is what we have seen again and again, and one of it is contracting.
I could have guessed.
The other one is confidentiality. So both starting with C, and coaching is also C.
Yeah.
So we find that a lot of the contract is a psychological contract. Okay. So for example, there is the sponsor. So I, the sponsor, pay you as a coach because I want my daughter to be coached. But after 1 month, I don't hear anything from the coach. After 2 months, I don't hear anything from the coach. And the third month, I'm calling the coach and asking, look, I paid you. I need to know. I need to know how is the coaching going on. And you are an ACC coach and you're thinking, oh my God, I thought everything is inside the coaching session.
Confidential.
Confidential. How am I going to? But the sponsor is thinking in their brain a psychological contract that once I pay you, there is an agreement with me that you will tell me, is it worth me spending that money on my daughter to be coached? So that's a dilemma. So the sponsor feels not cheated, but feels
it doesn't see the result. It doesn't have any feedback, so he's wondering what's happening.
So the sponsor has an expectation, the expectation which is not verbalized and not documented.
Yes.
So the coach is stuck. Now the coach is scared. Do I tell? Do I not tell? Will my contract be renewed? Will my contract be terminated? So the coach is scared. So this is an issue for the coach to bring to the supervisor.
Yeah.
Because it's an ethical,
Yeah, there's two aspects in that case that you mentioned. There is the contracting, because it wasn't mentioned or we would feedback, and there is the confidentiality aspect. How much can I say to the sponsor? So it's both.
So, yes. So both of these are the hottest things that come up.
Yeah.
So if the coach brings this to a supervisor, then the supervisor can deconstruct for the coach to understand why the coach is feeling fearful. What is the 11 core competency saying? What is the ethical code saying? Then allow the coach to build their own level of awareness around these two. Then improve the quality of the contracting.
Yes.
Then the coach understands, okay, so when there is a sponsor, there could be ethical nuances, there could be ethical dilemma, there could be ethical issues. So how do I arrest this? What's a best practice for the coach? So one best practice is sit down and ask ethical, curious question. Example, what are you expecting from me as a coach when you are a sponsor?
Yeah.
So that
knowing that there is confidentiality between me, coach, and my coachee. So how can I bring feedback to you, but
uphold the confidentiality, ethical code plus core competencies. So upholding that, how do I meet your expectation? How do I lower your expectation? It has to come out in the contracting.
Okay.
So I'm personally, this is one case that came up that I'm sharing with you. I personally was involved in a corporate situation where the sponsor said, you have to give me a report. You have to tell me what happened. You have to tell. So he wanted details to see, is it worth? Is it worth for us to invest? And it's not cheap. Executive coaching is not cheap. So I could feel the ethical code and core competency serving me at that moment and protecting me. And I said, you can terminate the contract if you're not satisfied, but I cannot breach the ethical code or the core competency. So I have to, tell him and make him aware that I am protected by ICF because of these two ethical code and core competencies. So if he's not satisfied, it's okay. So that's one of the dilemmas that come. So how do you contract?
So you agree on the level of feedback that you will be able to give considering the confidentiality.
Yes.
There it's probably a bit subtle to define this.
And we also agree in a three-way. That means I, as the coach, will agree to give themes rather than contents of the coaching conversation. The sponsor must agree to accept themes. And if the sponsor wants one level deeper, that means themes is just too high level, too superficial, the client must agree and contract. Client is willing to share with the sponsor this level of this level of detail. So there is a three-way of understanding which needs to be clear in a contracting. That number one, the contract becomes clear. Number two, confidentiality is acknowledged and supported or endorsed.
And so that the coachee also feel the trust, because otherwise he might say, okay, because I feel you are going to reveal too much to the sponsor, I might not want to be fully committed to that coaching.
And we had a case where the coach told the client, I'm going to tell your sponsor. And the client said, no, I don't want you to tell. Then the coach said, but you told me to tell. Then the client said, yes, but now I'm telling you not to tell. So the client has changed. The client, first part of the coaching sessions, he said, okay, you can tell, you can tell, you can tell, you can tell. But the coach never told.
Okay, but then it's a bit like you need to recontract at some point because it has changed.
So suddenly the coach said, I'm going to tell. And then the client said, no. Okay, from today onwards, I'm telling you not to tell. So there's like a recontracting that needed to take place. The coach refused to listen to the client. The coach just told the sponsor, and then the client complained, this is a breach. So we had to review this case as a...
But it's not easy at that point of time for the coach to go back to the sponsor and to say, by the way, as from now on, I'm not giving you feedback anymore because the coach doesn't want. It's a tricky situation to handle.
Yes. Yeah. That's why
where indeed supervision would be very.
So that's why it's called ethical dilemma. It's not a clear-cut, straight, okay, because A has happened, please do B. Because C has happened, please do D. It doesn't happen that way. It's too complex because there's so many human beings with hidden or didn't vocalize expectations, didn't clarify, or psychological contracting, did not put it in place. So contracting and confidentiality are the two quarters.
Yeah, so you say it's the hottest, challenges, and at the same time, each case is very unique in the sense that you need to really know how the system is working, what was agreed, and so on, and only there you can make a decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we sit on the ethics board, we listen to both. We listen to the coach. Why did you breach confidentiality as claimed by the client? Then we ask the client, why did you change from yes, suddenly no. So what happened? What was the dynamics? What was the change in dynamics? Then we ask for evidence. So one of the best practices as coaches is, if we suspect that there is going to be an ethical dilemma, we're just suspecting, oh, this one sounds fishy, this one feels funny, this one, my gut is saying that this person, immediately, best practice, collect evidence. Yeah. So how do you collect evidence? Any form of evidence that fits into, it could be a document. Use the agreement. No, I did not breach because in the agreement it was very, very clearly stated. So that's an evidence, a document. It can be a text message. That means in my phone, I got that message from the client and the client said, yes, I can share with the sponsor. So it can be a text message. It can be an audio, or I didn't receive the call, but he left a voice message for me. So it can be an audio. It can be a document, or, okay, so these are some of the ways, best practices, collect the evidence. It can be a witness. No, I was there and the sponsor or the client was there and the client's friend was there, something like that. A witness is there, that is also good.
So it means also that when there is a case that is coming to the ethics board, I would say that the confidentiality is no longer there because you need to reveal things in order to handle the case. You said document, text, audio, you need to waive the level of confidentiality to be able to treat the case.
Oh, for us, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So we keep everything confidential. So even though I'm sharing with you, you will not have a clue from which country, which this thing, so everything is still kept confidential. We're just picking up the dilemma that happened so that we can learn from it and then design best practices how to contain it so that it doesn't become an ethical dilemma in the future for us.
Okay. So you mentioned one best practice already, collecting evidence. If you sense, you feel, as you said, you have your gut telling you that that might be. Do you have other Sorry, do you have other best practices?
Yeah, another best practices is for coaches themselves to raise their level of awareness. You won't know when the ethical dilemma will come. You won't know. So when you're designing a agreement, a contracting with the client, ask ethical, curious questions. So the biggest ethical curious questions is, what are you expecting? What is your expectation? What is it you're not saying but you're expecting? So at least we get to hear what they are thinking of, what they are feeling about this issue. So, and then we agree in the contracting. So the contracting takes a higher quality, or it goes a deeper level. And that's what we want as a best practice for the coach.
Again, we come back to that agreement, to that contracting that should really include those best practices for ethics. Yeah. It needs to be taken into account at that point in time already. Okay.
Yeah. So another best practice that coaches can do is, in their contract with the client, there is one paragraph that they can take. I, as a coach of ICF, agree to abide. So there's one full paragraph saying that I am an ICF coach. I am abiding by the ICF Code of Ethics and Core Competencies. If I have violated or breached any ethical standard, I'm giving you the power to please report me. So that is a best practice, because you are holding the code and the 11 core competencies behind you as a support. It's supporting you. It's going to serve you, because the client has got so much of integrity and confidence in you, because you are not going to, breach any of the ethical code. So that's another best practice that we can do.
Yeah. Okay. I'm writing also. I'm just wondering if there are already some questions from the attendees. If there are, do not hesitate to use the chat. I'm just taking it. I guess also one best practice for a coach in case of a dilemma is to ask for supervision.
Yes. So one of the other best practices, there are a few more, three more.
Three more, okay, go on.
So the third one, three out of the three, the first one is to connect with a supervisor, because you will never know when the ethical dilemma will creep in. You will never know. So there's one of my supervisees. She came to me and she said, I have two businesses. One is coaching and one is consulting. I signed an agreement with my client to do consulting. In the process of consulting this client, suddenly I realized that coaching will really support this client. So what I did was I started selling the coaching program to the client. And the client just went backwards and said, what are you trying to do here? The client suddenly felt uncomfortable, uneasy. I thought you were a consultant and you should be, sharing with me all the tips.
Practices.
As a consultant, and the client said, I can't continue with this. I have to stop. So the client felt that. So the coach, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I thought I'm only supporting my client. So the coach brought this issue to me as the supervisor. So I had to deconstruct. I had to allow the coach to see which hat they were wearing during the coaching process. And if they were wearing one hat, what was the need of the coach to switch hats without permission from the client?
Yeah.
Oh, because I saw a need. whose need was it? Was it your need or was it the client's need?
Yeah. It was not transparent. It wasn't clarified for the client.
It wasn't clear for the coach. So how much more blur will it be for the client? So the client started to get confused. If the coach is confused, what more the client? So during supervision, the coach began to realize, oh my God, it was my need. It wasn't the client's need. It was my need to fix the client because I have the solution. I have it in my hand. I want to give it to. So it became very clear to the coach.
Yeah.
So
starting from a good intention, but with the segregation of duties and
So that's how supervision can support a coach who is struggling in an ethical dilemma case.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that's another best practice.
Yes.
Okay, I got two more.
Okay, go ahead.
The other two is to raise our level of learning. The faster we hear about ethical cases, the faster we hear different perspectives from different countries, because the ethical is like, there are so many nuances depending on the culture. The more we listen to it, the faster we become ethically aware, ethically prepared, ethically educated.
Yes.
Then the richer or the quicker we become confident in setting agreements, in crafting or drafting, contracting. Our quality as a professional coach is increased.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and you can only know if you are surrounded by examples and you learn about it. Then your awareness indeed is raised. And there is indeed a question from Marianne saying, when we coach globally with different legal systems, potential different ethical point of view, what prevails? She's asking. I think it touched what you said, that can be so different.
Yeah. So to answer a question, the more we become aware, that's the only way, because there's no textbook to tell us, excuse me, when you are coaching in France, you must not do this, because this will happen. There's no. We just need to have a sense within ourselves. Are we feeling uncomfortable? Are we feeling discomfort? The body needs to tell us, look, I can smell there's something ethically not right.
Yeah.
Okay? So when the body tells us that, immediately you need to take the action.
Yeah.
Yeah? Talk to another coach, talk to a supervisor, talk. So that's the one of them. The other way is, the more exposure you get, and there are two platforms you can use to get this global kind of view that Marianne is asking, where to get this kind of global education. There are two platforms. One is ethics community of practice. They meet 4 times a year. Okay, so you can...
Ethics community practice.
Yes, it's on the ICF website.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can give later. I can find the.
Yeah, it would be nice. I think indeed, as a add-on to the webinar, we can write that.
So that's one, and the second one is water cooler, ethics water cooler, which they meet 12 times a year, and people from different parts of the world will bring ethical. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure whether I did the right thing. My client brought this issue. So they will bring issues which are very simple, down to earth, and globally different issues will be brought. And then everybody says, okay, in my country we do this. In my country we can't do this. In my country we can. So in some countries, right, having a written agreement is an insult to the integrity of the
Yeah, okay, indeed.
And we are like, oh my God, we don't have an agreement already. With the agreement, we are already having ethical issues. And now you're telling us your culture says you cannot even write it because it's an insult to the integrity of the person. So suddenly you raise your level of awareness, yeah, about how ethics can create so many forms of dilemmas.
Yeah, they're very different cases. So you're saying indeed we need to learn about it, raise awareness, and by doing that is also to get exposures to those cases so that you can, yeah, see what's happening, what could happen, and feel more prepared.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, you cannot sense, you cannot feel that there is something fishy.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for those best practices. I think it's very valuable for everyone participating in the webinars.
Yeah, and the ethical code, there are 28 different clauses. Every 3 years, there is an ethics code of ethics review committee. So right now in 2018, 2019, they are reviewing. So they're trying to simplify it at the same time, make it simple, at the same time allow all these nuances, cultural nuances to come in. Yeah.
I have another question here. Anything additional we need to be aware of when we do group coaching in terms of ethics, in terms of agreement?
I think the best practice that I mentioned earlier was asking that ethical, curious question. So whether I'm supervising you as an individual or there are 4 people with me as the group supervisor, I will ask the same question to them. So I can repeat this process. I just want to know, is there something that you are thinking of which you're not saying, which needs to be addressed? Then we, as a group, we can agree collectively. I think that's one way, because we cannot be prepared. I mean, we cannot know what we do not know. So the most is surface it. Allow the group to surface it.
But it's a collective agreement again.
Collective, yeah. So we all agree that this is the way it should be done.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. 2 cases that are coming up for me. One is the cultural sensitive case, where the client wanted to bring a dog to the coaching session. So to her, she and her dog are like best friends. So for the coach, it's what, oh my God, how do I coach you when there's a dog running around? I can't do that. So, you know, culturally sensitive, and some cultures, they just cannot have a dog in the same room. Yeah. So the client made an assumption that me and my dog are one, without even expressing that to the coach. And I, as the coach, I wouldn't know that she's going to bring her dog, because for her it's an understood expectation. It's understood. So when it happened, the coach was like, what are you doing? Why is there a dog in my room? Why is that? So then recontracting needs to take place. No point the coach saying, you need to be culturally sensitive, or the coach no need to go through the drama. It's just a recontracting. Be confident enough, have the courage to bring that recontracting.
To compromise there and saying your point of view that this is not something that you can indeed work with.
So it's not a compromise. It is more an understanding between each other. What is allowed in the coaching scenario and what is not. So it becomes again the ethical, curious question. Okay. Then there's one more. There's one more. The coach said, I gave my client supposed to be 60 minutes, but I gave my client 120 minutes because I was free. So the coach was free on that day, and the coach gave an extra 60 minutes. So that's coaching session 2. Coaching session 3, the coach came 30 minutes late. So the client recorded this and said, you know, as a coach, you should not come in late and you should be on time. We agreed at 3 o'clock and you only came in at 3:30. So the client is getting upset, right? So the coach turns around, didn't I give you an extra 60 minutes? So since I gave you an extra 60 minutes, what's the big deal about you?
Yeah.
So you see
yeah, okay, but it's an agreement, you know.
Yeah.
It's in the head of each person, but it's not agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's inside here. So it's a psychological contracting. So the coach thought and made an assumption it's no big deal. Okay, but the client is still holding on to the agreement. No, this was what we agreed. This was how it was recorded. So again, an ethical issue.
Yeah. So don't make assumptions.
Assumptions means psychological contracting.
Yeah.
That means you didn't verbalize it, you
Exactly.
didn't record it, so the contract becomes weak. Because there's too many clauses sitting inside here which you didn't verbalize.
Yeah, completely.
There's one more, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. Go ahead.
There's one more. The client said in the contract, I want all my coaching sessions to be face-to-face. I don't want any of my coaching sessions to be on the phone. So the coach said, no problem. So agreed on the agreement, contract, and signed everything. Second coaching session, the client rang and said, we schedule at 7. Can I have it at 7:30? Because I'm running late from my office. So the coach said, let me compromise. Okay, compromise.
Yes.
Okay. Third coaching session, 7:30, agreed. Coach rings up the client and said, I want to do it on the phone. So the client said, no way, no way, no way. I disagree with that because we agreed from the beginning that it's going to be face-to-face. I'm coming to your office. And the coach said, didn't I give you a compromise? And from 7, I agreed to wait in my office till 7:30. Can't you now compromise with me and just for this coaching session?
Yeah.
So again, another complaint. So we received these complaints.
Did this touch a bit upon trust, you know, between those two people, you know?
That is 11 core competencies. Core competency number 3, build trust and intimacy.
Yes.
Where is the trust?
Yes.
Where is the intimacy? So as long as that's not there,
it can open the door to those kind of complaints and questions. Okay, yeah, indeed. Good. Thank you so much for all your sharings. Very interesting. Do you want to add anything, Frances?
Let me check anything else I jotted
I think
down.
we touch upon most of the points. I will ask the audience also if they have some remaining questions.
Yeah, it's just that one more thing. When they sense that this could be an ethical issue, that a coach is not behaving themselves or behaving unethically, it is their duty as a fellow, we call it colleague because he's a coach, I'm a coach. So it's your duty to actually talk to that coach and say, look, what you're doing, your action, your thoughts or your words are just not in line with the coaching profession.
Yeah, okay.
So Can you
amongst coach, mentor, supervisor, same, yeah, in the profession, indeed, the duty to
just
to inform.
make them aware. Because if they continue not to change their behavior, which is unethical, maybe an unethical practice, then it is your duty to inform.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is a hotline that they can call as a coach with evidence. That means you call the hotline, and the hotline has got in 12 languages. Yeah, so they will receive your case and they will ask you what is the evidence. So you must make sure you got either a document, a text, an audio, a written thing, email, a witness. And one more thing, when am I a coach? If I'm in a supermarket and I'm just shopping on my own, then the ethical code of ethics is not so serious. But when I'm in a community, that means the community who look at me know that I am a coach. But I'm not coaching. I'm just a presenter at a conference. I am just a speaker at like a fireplace kind of discussion. I'm just, but the audience knows and looks at me as she's a coach. Even though I'm not coaching, the code of ethics and the 11 core competencies still is embedded in me. So I cannot say I wasn't a coach then. So you cannot say that I violated ethics. So they don't have that you cannot like separate when the community is aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's good to mention. Indeed, it's a bit scary. Because you are indeed not coaching, and I mean, as a person, you have so many, hats.
Yeah. So that's why, as long as like you're having swimming or you go on a holiday and you're not branding yourself as a coach, then it's okay. But when you're standing in a community
as a coach,
so even though you are just a discussion panelist, you're just a panelist in that, but you say you're an ICF coach and you're an ACC or PCC or MCC, then the ethics code will be embedded in you. So it's there to serve you, to protect you, so use it wisely.
You have roles and responsibilities, indeed. So Marianne indeed said duty to talk and to report if you notice some unethical practice in fellow colleagues, correct? Yeah, I think that's right. And and also she was saying indeed the pressure of having that code, but I think you're right, it depends on the context. Okay. Just checking if there is any more question in the chat. It's the moment, dear participants. So in the meantime, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. It was very interesting. I want also to say that the next steps is if some participants want to deepen the topic, you will offer indeed three group supervision session in the course of 2019. Those supervision session will be with, I think, 3 participants maximum on a Friday from 10 to 12. It will be online supervisions. For ACSM members, those 3 sessions are offered for 1,000 ringgit. For EMCC, ICF and IAC, it's 1,500, and for non-members, it's 2,000 ringgit. More information can be found under the ACSM website, where you have all the details of the different dates of the supervisors. So I would really encourage everyone who wants to deepen that topic or to reach out to you, of course. if needed. So I see no more questions. So I think we can close the call, Frances. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I will definitely replay it, I guess, because it's very interesting.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening and a nice weekend.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you for this opportunity. It was my pleasure. Really enjoyed.
Yes, that's nice. See you later, Frances. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.